90% of AI products aren't talking about the same thing when they use the same words. It's not an accident. The company down the street calls their chatbot AI. Their competitor calls theirs machine learning. A third one talks about neural networks. Technically, they're all correct. Strategically, they're all lying. TechCrunch just dropped a comprehensive glossary that exposes this perfectly, and it's a game changer. Here's why it matters. The gap between what these terms actually mean and what vendors claim they mean has gotten so wide that even smart executives are getting burned. They're making buying decisions based on misunderstood language. This glossary covers the real definitions: hallucinations, where AI makes stuff up and pretends it's true; training and inference, the difference between learning and thinking; prompt injection, parameters; embeddings, all those technical concepts that sound impressive but get misused constantly. Once you understand what these terms actually mean, something changes. Every AI pitch you hear becomes instantly more transparent. Suddenly you can tell when someone's overselling because you actually understand what they are claiming. That's powerful, and that's why this matters so much right now. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through the actual definitions. By the end, you'll understand more about how AI actually works than 95% of the people selling it to you. The problem started about 7 years ago when AI went from research papers to actual products. See, AI scientists had always used precise language with each other. In academic papers, terms got defined carefully and consistently. But then everyone and their uncle started building AI companies. Suddenly, you had venture capitalists, marketing teams, and salespeople using these technical words without really understanding them. And they weren't trying to understand them, they were trying to sell things. So the language got fuzzier and fuzzier. Companies started inventing their own definitions. NVIDIA would use a term one way, Google would use it another way, OpenAI another way entirely. There was no referee, there was no definition enforcement. So gradually, every single AI term became contested ground between what engineers meant and what marketers could get away with. By 2025, it got so bad that serious investors couldn't even tell the difference between companies that were genuinely doing machine learning and companies that were just wrapping autocomplete in fancy language. This created a massive information gap. The people building AI products understood what their systems could and couldn't do. The people buying AI products thought these systems could do way more than they actually could. That gap created billions in wasted spending, broken implementations, and frustrated customers everywhere. Understanding how we got here is the first step to fixing it. So what makes AI terminology so confusing in the first place? It boils down to a fundamental tension: the gap between technical precision and marketing necessity. In an engineering lab, terms have exact definitions because precision matters for safety and correctness. In a boardroom, terms get bent and stretched and reinterpreted because marketing matters for survival. Take the word hallucination. In computer science, it means something very specific: the system-generated text that sounds plausible but is factually wrong. It's making stuff up, but vendors describe it like it's a small quirk, like their system occasionally stumbles, when really it's making up facts regularly and confidently. Or consider the word learning. To an AI researcher, it means the process of adjusting mathematical weights through exposure to training data. To a marketer, it sounds like the system is thinking and understanding things. It's not. It's adjusting numbers based on patterns it saw. These aren't accidents, they are choices. The language gets twisted because the technical reality is less impressive than the marketed promise. An AI system that's adjusting weights based on statistical patterns sounds less powerful than one that's learning and thinking. So companies choose words that sound better. Understanding this gap between the real definition and the marketed version is your best defense against getting sold something that doesn't actually work. Let's walk through some actual definitions so you can see exactly how big this gap is. Hallucination: that's when an AI system generates plausible-sounding text that's actually completely false. It's not guessing, it's not being uncertain, it's confidently making things up. Inference: that's when a trained AI model is actually being used to make predictions or generate responses. It's already been trained. Now it's working. Training data: that's the raw information an AI system learned from. If the training data is biased, the AI will be biased. If the training data is wrong, the AI will be wrong. Parameters, these are the mathematical dials that get adjusted during training. A big AI model like GPT has hundreds of billions of parameters. That sounds impressive until you realize it's just billions of numbers being tweaked. Prompt injection, that's a security attack where someone tricks an AI system into ignoring its safety rules by cleverly wording their request. It's like social engineering, but for language models. Embeddings, these are mathematical representations of meaning. They are how AI systems convert words into patterns it can actually work with. Each of these terms has a specific, real meaning, but vendors use them in ways that sound more impressive than the reality. Knowing the real definitions gives you immediate clarity on what you're actually buying. Now here's where it gets interesting, understanding how these terms connect to each other. Training and inference are two separate phases. During training, the system feeds on training data and adjusts its parameters. Those parameters become its brain. During inference, you give it a prompt. It uses those trained parameters to generate a response. Hallucinations happen during inference when the system generates something that sounds right, but isn't true. Embeddings are the underlying technology that makes training and inference possible. They're how the system converts words into mathematical patterns. Parameters are what get adjusted during training and then used during inference. Prompt injection happens when someone tries to exploit the model during inference. These all connect. You can't understand one without understanding the others. And here's what's wild. Most AI companies don't explain these connections to customers. They talk about model size in parameters without explaining what parameters actually are or why bigger isn't always better. They tout their training data without explaining how biased training data creates biased systems. They highlight impressive inference speed without saying that's expected. This interconnected understanding is powerful because it lets you ask better questions when someone pitches you AI products. Suddenly, you can move past the buzzwords and ask what actually matters. And that's when negotiations change in your favor. Why does this actually matter? Because getting these terms wrong costs real money in multiple ways. First, companies buy AI tools thinking they're getting one thing when they're actually buying something else. They think they're buying a system that understands their business when they are really buying autocomplete. It doesn't work as expected. Wasted thousands and months of time. Second, misunderstanding leads to security problems. Someone doesn't understand prompt injection, so they skip safeguards. The system gets compromised. Third, bias becomes invisible when people don't understand training data. They deploy systems trained on biased historical data. It perpetuates those biases automatically and nobody notices until damage is done. Fourth, regulatory problems. Governments are writing AI regulations using specific terminology. If you don't understand these terms, you can't comply. You might think you're safe when you're actually not. Fifth, competition. Companies understanding this terminology evaluate AI products accurately. They make better decisions. They deploy systems that work. Their confused competitors waste resources and fall behind. This is why TechCrunch's glossary matters right now. It's not just educational. It's competitive advantage. Understanding these terms changes your entire relationship with AI technology and the vendors selling it to you. That's real power. Here's how to actually use this glossary to protect yourself. When someone pitches you an AI product, the first thing you do is ask them to define their terms. Don't let them get away with vague language. If they say their system uses machine learning, ask them to define machine learning. Ask about their training data. Ask how often it hallucinates. Ask what parameters they are using and why those matter. Ask if it's vulnerable to prompt injection and what safeguards they've put in place. These aren't technical questions. They are business questions, and anyone selling you an AI product should be able to answer them clearly. If they give you marketing fluff instead of real definitions, walk away. That's your signal that they are more interested in selling than solving problems. Second, use the glossary to evaluate companies. Look at their marketing materials and check every AI term against the real definition. If there's a gap, that's a red flag. Third, build your own vocabulary. Spend an afternoon learning these definitions deeply. It's not wasted time. It's investing in your ability to see through misleading language. Fourth, ask your team to learn this stuff too. When everyone in your organization understands real AI terminology, it's much harder for vendors to mislead you. You're making decisions based on reality, not promises. Here's what changes when you actually understand AI terminology. Suddenly, all those breathless tech headlines about AI breakthroughs get reframed. You read deeper. You ask better questions. You understand what's genuinely new versus what's just new language applied to old technology. Companies making real innovations stand out clearly from companies just rebranding autocomplete. Your relationship with AI changes from mystical to manageable. You stop being afraid of things you don't understand and start evaluating things clearly. That's when AI becomes actually useful. Here's the thing most people miss. Understanding AI terminology isn't about becoming a researcher. It's about protecting yourself. It's about making better business decisions. It's about not getting fooled by marketing. And it's about actually deploying AI systems that solve real problems instead of just sounding impressive. TechCrunch's glossary is the tool that makes all of this possible. Spend an hour learning these terms. Share them with your team. Use them to evaluate vendors. Your future business outcomes depend on it. Master these terms and you become dangerous in the best possible way. You can see through the spin and make decisions based on reality. That's the Glossary Advantage. Follow for daily AI news.